Hey guys, Wrong Purpose Kentucky Fried Gamers. Have you ever had one of those ideas that you just wish you hadn't made, or decisions you hadn't made? This was one of them. I kept looking at it, and it was just, I hated the way it looked. It looked terrible. So I'm going back to my original idea. What I am going to do is I am going to build up a small square underneath of where I'm going to mount the crane. So we're going to go back to the original idea. I tore all this off. I'm going to get rid of all this trash. We're going to go back to the original idea that I had this. I've removed two of these. I've decided to only go with 4 across here. So I'm going to do some measuring and figure out exactly where I want to put the beams, the support beams underneath of there. And then we're gonna basically, we're starting over, except for the top. I've got the top done. It did bow up a little bit. You can probably see that, but it'll all straighten out when I put these on there. I'm going to use these smaller ones. I've used so much. I've got one that's basswood and one that's balsa wood, but it won't matter once it's painted up. So I'm going to measure out, and I'm just going to eyeball where I want this, and then mark it. That right there. And then we'll cut this one, and then we'll cut that one. You'll see that balsa cuts a whole lot easier than basswood. Trying to make sure I don't have, if I zoom out a little bit though, you'll see the legs on the tripod up here. So, but anyway, that's close enough. All right, so we're gonna trim this off here. Glasses help. Get my big fat head in the way to line it up. All right. See how hard that was to cut that basswood, but it'll be alright. Stickers on the balsa off there. And we'll line this up. Just set it in here. We're through the balsa. You can see the difference in between the balsa. It's so much easier to cut through than the basswood. So now I just got to figure out exactly where I want to place these and place them down. And then I'm going to use some little clamps to hold them down in place while the glue dries. And then once that, I will go back and do these. We'll get started on the other sides, which I should have enough if I make them. I may just do it this way, just whatever's left on this one. Scoot it in. I know you got some ugly glue underneath, but it won't make any difference once it's on there and glued. So we're gonna do that. Okay. Sometimes I've used so much of my material on the other buildings that I didn't realize I was so short and so low on this. Alright, I might have to get my head in the way so I can see exactly where I want this. I want to get this fairly square. I'm going to mark sure I line it up where it needs to be. And I can line the other one up as well. Also need to mark the outside. Make sure I get it all lined up. Okay. So what I've done, if you can see there, is I've marked where these beams are going to go. And I'm just going to run a bead of glue down through there. Right over top of the other glue. What I am going to do on this end though, is I'm going to put that piece up there to make sure. I'm going to get this one on there and clamp it in place. Don't stick your thumb in the glue. That'll happen sometimes too. Get that one. Get this one over here in place. I'm going to have to put another one in the middle there, but that's okay. Alright, so now we're going to line this one up. Make sure we're still good with our spacing. Good there. Yeah, see, I'm going to move this one out just a little bit because it wasn't quite squared up. So let's do that. Let's clamp this end. And we'll move that one up where it needs to be and clamp it. These aren't going to work. I have to use these. And having a variety of clamps helps, especially when you're trying to get something in there like that. Okay, come down here. Square that one up. Can actually go on the end here and get that one, I do believe. Yeah. I'm going to take, I've got a couple of other clamps to kind of hold it in the middle. So you can see it clamps it down. This one looks pretty good, but I'll take this extra clamp here and stick it on there. Just kind of hold it down. Alright, so now we've got that down on there. I said I guess I can go ahead and glue these in, but I actually want to wait so that when I put them in there, they are where they're going to go. This won't move. So I'm going to set this aside and we are going to get started on the crane, which is this. So what I need to do is figure out exactly how big I want to make that. So I need a piece of paper. And it doesn't have to be exact. If you've got an idea of what you want to do, so looking at the size of this, I'm going to start by making a circle. I need to find, you can do it either by drawing around something, or finding something that you want to use for it. But see how this has that steel plate at the base. I want to duplicate that, although I'm going to have rivets running all the way around mine instead of just 4 like they've got on this one. Alright, let me find something real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so what I found, I've got a 40 mil base that I want to, it's about the right size that I want to do the base on this because of the size of that. So I'm just going to take and draw this piece of It's a cereal box, and then you can either cut it out with scissors or with a knife or a circular cutter. I'm just going to cut it out with scissors because it's not going to be as crucial. And I am holding my scissors at a little bit of an angle, but okay, so there's that. So you've got your base piece. See, now that's going to determine how big everything else is going to be. So if I've got my base, that means I want, and I do a lot of measuring and stuff, actual measuring. So if that's 90, so that's going to be about half that size, plus or minus. So that looks to be, so I'm going to make that about 10 millimeters wide at the base. Is that about right? Yeah, give or take, about half that size, so about 10 millimeters. Alright, so let me get another piece of cardboard. It doesn't matter what kind of card, like this was just it doesn't matter what kind of card you use. You could use cereal box, which is going to give you, that's why I'm using this, because it's going to give you that little lip there, but I don't want it so thick, like if I was using the that mat board that I had showed you in the previous video. So alright, so we'll set our circle out of the way. We don't need that base anymore. I could just use the base. If you want to, you can just use the base, but I plan to put rivets, and I want this to be flatter. And that has a hole, that has a slot in it. I mean, if you have a 40 mil, you can use 40 mil, 50 mil, whatever you want it to do. Alright, so I'm going to try to replicate that. I may sketch it first. So, alright, so we're going to, alright, if that's 10 mil wide at the base, this piece here, so we're going to make that 10 mil, so that's going to be a little bit wider. So with that, we're looking at not quite half. So alright, let's get about 10 mil wide. And you can use inches if you want as well. That's about a ½ inch wide, so I don't want it a quarter, so we're going to just do it with the mils. Alright, so that's going to be about 10 mil wide, so we're going to make that come down about 15. So where it comes, so that's going to be 15. I'm just kind of sketching this and kind of getting myself an idea. And I'm going to go, because there's very few straight lines in this, the top, the end, and the bottom, and a couple here. This almost looks like it's at an angle, although I'm going to make it straight up and down. So we're going to come in about 5 here. And we'll fill that in a minute. And I'm going to come up about 50 mil from the bottom. Not worried about being exactly square right now, but I've got a pretty good eye. I'm just trying to get my, you kind of get your basic shape, and you can draw over it afterwards. So, alright, so here you're going to take and just come in. If you have a template, which I have a template I could use, but I'm not concerned about that, you can just come in and do a little fillet right there for this piece here. I do want to cut the holes in this because I am going to use, I've got some gears and stuff that I want to use in here, and some rods and stuff that I'll use to make this part of it. Because they looks like they'll unhook that. This is more the counterbalance. This is what looks like it lifts, actual lifts stuff. So to take some of the stress off of it. Alright, so we're up to there. I'm going to kind of just sketch in here. And I want to come out about 75. That's not right. Okay. So I want to come out somewhere out here with the end of it. But I'm just going to kind of sketch up. This looks like it's a little bit straighter than that. Just come up there. About there looks about right. Give that about 10 mil maybe. And then maybe less. Maybe about 7 or 8. And we'll just come straight across here. It's like I said, I'm not trying to get exact. I just want I want it to look similar to that. There. See, so now, when I come across there, and you can use, like if you've got French curves or whatever, you can use whatever you want to come back. But I'm going to come back to about here. So I'm going to kind of just like I said, you don't have to be exact. Just kind of get similar. So there's that. And now I want to come out with a piece to be able to attach gears to, which looks like it's all still one piece. There may be some pieces attached there, but I'm just going to make it all one piece. This piece will come up here. Something. Actually. Alright, so I'm looking here. This piece actually looks like it comes back into here. It's above that though. That's okay. Not worried about it. It's not actually going to be functioning. I know it's making some complicated cuts there, but once you get this side made, and I haven't figured out exactly if I want to strip that with maybe a thin piece of styrene, or I may actually make these side pieces out of, we're just going to make it. We're just going to go for it. So there's the basic shape of the side of that. It looks a little weird, but I like it. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to transfer this over to here. And I'm simply just going to, I'm going to put a piece of tape on here. I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to cut this out, make it easier to work with. Alright, so there's that. So this let me know that I can get, I can do it this way and get them. So I can put one here and one here. Now if you want to, you can scan this or print it, or whatever you want to do. I'm thinking about just cutting this and cutting both of them at the same time. Putting a piece of tape on the outside edge so that they don't move. So I think I am going to do that. I've done that before. I'm just going to cut this off here. Cut this down this way. I apologize if I keep getting out of the screen. I'm trying to get back into the habit of keeping stuff out farther in front of me, so that you guys can actually see what I'm doing. throw those away because they will probably come in handy. So now what I'm talking about doing is I'm going to take this, cut that in half, and I'm actually going to stack two together. And if I can find my tape, I'm actually going to tape the edges in order to be able to kind of cut this without it moving. Tape the two outside edges together. So that should allow me to cut straight through without it moving much. I'm actually going to tape that down as well. That should help. So, now there's different ways to do this. This just happens to be the one way that I do it. Alright, so I'm going to set this off to the side. And since I'm cutting through so much, I'm going to use my larger. Looks like it might need to be sharpened. Let's actually go here. Yeah, that one looks pretty good. Yeah, I have more control with my X-Acto blade. It's very sharp. So, what I'm planning to do, I'm just going to start right here. Cut down. I'm not going to cut the big ones till last, so you can use a ruler to make sure, if you want, make sure you're getting all the way through. And I do a lot of overcutting to make sure it goes through. If I don't cut all the way through the second one, I will have at least scored it to where I know where my cuts are going to be. Let's see, I guess I'm going to try that. It's an awful tight circle. And it won't, you probably won't see that once I put the actual rod through there to hold the gears together. And I have to emphasize safety here. I've been working with X-Acto knives for years, so I'm pretty comfortable with them. Although even I make mistakes. I don't know if you can see it, there's a scar from there to there because of one of these. Because I wasn't careful and the tool slipped. Because I was cutting in a direction that I didn't need to be cutting. So try not, you don't have to do it all at once. Take a couple of passes, especially if you're using a straight edge. Alright. Down to here. Now we're getting down to getting close. Alright, so now actually we're going to cut this one this direction. Cut away from the get our last little curve in here. Should be everything. So let's peel this off and see what we got. Yep, looks like we got everything. Okay. So, I'm going to go through and double check with my cuts. Just to make sure I got everything all the way through. Yeah, I still feel it cutting something there. And I may have to clean up some of this, but it'll be fine. Especially like right in here, there may not be as many pieces that actually went all the way through. That one did. Alright, we'll see if this will pop out. There's one. So we're close. Just a couple of little pieces hanging in there. Right here in this corner. Alright. And there we go. We got a little bit here still. Okay, so there are my two halves for the piece. So that's one way that you can double up. You can make a template. I know that James Kelly on the Tabletop Engineer, he sometimes will make a template and then actually use that template to trace around so that you're cutting the same thing, which is a very good idea. But since I'm only planning to ever make one of this, that's what I'm going with. So, alright. So here's our template. That looks pretty good. And now I need to cut some pieces in there. I need to figure out, it looks like it's a little, it's not quite square, so it's off a little bit. So I made this bottom on this one. What did I make it? It is, yep, I was measuring in millimeters before. 15. So that's 15. I'm going to make that one, I'm going to make it 20 wide. So now, what I need to do is come in here with this. We can use a piece of this that we already used. Cut the tape in half, maybe. I try not to, I mean, I know this stuff's cheap, but because it's basically free. So we need to take, where's my pencil? Alright, what I'm going to take is, I'm just going to kind of sketch this out, trace over this, because it's going to be bigger than this anyway. It doesn't look like with the light shining that it comes down here. It's just right there. So it looks like it's just a box that wraps. So we're going to build a box. It comes down and wraps there. Alright, so there we've got that. I'm actually going to do this. Square it up. So that I get my box right. Alright, so there is my box. But I'm making this 20 wide and I want this to overhang at least a millimeter. So it's 20 wide. We're going to make it 20 inside to inside just to make it easy for measuring the pieces that go inside. So that'll be 20 plus the thickness of this, which is about 1 mil, I do believe. Yep, so 20 plus 2 is 22, so we want 24 millimeters wide. So that's about 10, so we're going to mark the middle of that. Mark the middle of this. Get out here, make sure I'm up in the center. So then we're going to measure. So we need 12. So 10, thing up here. 12, mark here, and 24, mark here. Actually, we can just go do this, because that's where the end of that's going to be. And that's where the end of this is going to be. So this is going to be our box. And it's awfully wide looking at that. I want to make that 20. Because I made the base of this what? Maybe I'll make the width the same as the base, which is 15, inside to inside. Let's do that. That'll look a little more balanced. So 15 plus 4, so we'll make it 19 instead of, yeah, pick an odd number. So let's make it 20 overall, which will make it here. Inside will be there. Yeah, this is some of that where I should have planned this a little better, but I figure I kind of kind of gives you guys an insight to my thinking process and how I work. Everybody works differently. Alright, so that'll be better. So what I'm going to do is transfer this. I'm going to make a box out of this. I'm actually going to transfer this onto a different piece. Let's see if that's long enough. Yes, that'll work. So I'm going to transfer this onto this, and then I can just cut the whole length of it and just basically score and fold the box. Well, no, that's not going to work. We're going to make 2 of these because it's a top and bottom. This one's actually that little ridge around there is driving me nuts. Looks like there's a plate on the outside bolting that on there. Yeah, what the heck. This is mine. I'll do it the way I want. So I'm going to take that down to 15. That way I can just sit the box on the inside, glue it to it, and then if I want to add another top piece, I'll add a top piece. So, because that is the height that I want right there. So I'm going to make it exactly that height. Then I'll worry about the little edging detail on it there later. Alright. Alright, so back to where we were. We're going to make it 15, I said. So there's the 15. We're going to make it, instead of 15, we're going to make it 16 so that we can get an exact number. And if you have issues with, extra lines, you can always just put X's through them so you know exactly which ones you're using and which ones you're not. It doesn't bother me because I come from a CAD background, so extra lines don't bother me. I can pick out and identify most of the time. Okay, so we're going to cut that piece. Because see, my box is nowhere near as long as that one up here at the top either. Alright, so let's duplicate this. Let's just draw on back here. And then this thing is it the same as that? Did I make that? Yes. So, okay. $23.5 maybe? So that should give me the top and the bottom of my box. I will use the straight edge because I want this one to be kind of square. Like I said, you don't have to push hard to get through these. I mean, it just makes it easier on you, you know, because if you're gripping and tight, your fingers will get tired quicker. Lay all my scrap pieces off to the side. Let's see how we're doing on time. Alright, so cut the ends off of these to get our 2 block pieces. Like I said, if you guys want me to fast forward some of this, feel free. Don't want to get those mixed up. And here are my 2 pieces that are going to go inside here. They will line up inside here. I may use hot glue on this when I go to gluing this together, just because it'll hold it in place quicker, and then maybe put a dab of tacky glue on each end. Just put a dot of hot glue to hold that square. And probably when I go to do it, I will probably use this to hold it square when I'm putting it, so because I want it to be square. So I'll probably put it in there like this and put a dab of hot glue. I think I'm going to go ahead and heat my hot glue gun up. Give me just a second while I plug this thing in. I need to invest in a cordless version. This one is a cordless version, but it only takes certain kinds of batteries, and I'm not sure how those batteries will last keeping it hot. I'm going to look at the one like that James Floyd Kelly has, because I really like that. It's got a base station, and you pick it up, use it, put it back in the base station. Anyway, that's the top and bottom on those, on that. Let's see, let's kind of clear our table a little bit here. Alright, scrap stuff. So, and since this is basically going to be the main piece that draws everybody's eye, that's part of the reason I'm going to take more time on this piece, just to build it out. And like these, I'm going to use rods and straws and different things like that. And this piece, I may actually have, I think I've got some plastic angle that I'll use for that. And I've got some jewelry chain. Jewelry chain is awesome for making chains. But I haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to do right there yet for those pieces. I may just use hot glue and put it on there and paint them like welds. Or I may actually take some like chipboard and wrap it around. Or another thing you can do is if you've got a tube and you've got another one that's similar diameter, but you know, you can slide them inside each other and just cut little snippets to make it look like, and then I could just glue some rivets on it for detail. That will all come later. Let's see, do we want to put the, yeah, let's go ahead and sketch in while I'm waiting for the glue gun to heat up. Let's go on and sketch in the holes here. I know I have a tight workspace here, but I need to clean off my other work table downstairs. It looks like it comes about in here somewhere. It looks like it's on line with that, so let's kind of straighten that up there. Looks like it's on line right there with that. And then it kind of follows the curve a little bit to about right there. I don't want to cut too much out of it, but I want this for detail. Come like that. Yeah, okay, that'll work for that one. These just look like circles. This. What I may do is just take a hole punch and punch that. Matter of fact, if I knew where my hole punch was, I think they're over here, actually covered up. Imagine that. Yeah, my daughter's been in here doing crafting as well, which is great. I love that she gets into the crafting, but she usually leaves me a mess to clean up. Alright, figures out of the way. Alright. Actually, this, wait a minute, there it is. That's the one I'm looking for down there, isn't it? Yeah, that's off. That's my small one. That's the one I used to make rivets with. I may not have. I don't see my other hole punch. Alright, well, anyway. I'll show you guys how I make the rivets too. We're just going to do it that way. So there's one there. And then there's another one. That's a little bitty one. Let's make that nice and short. And this is all for detail. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. I'll make this one a nice long one up here. Just to and it doesn't look like there's another one up here. It looks like, yeah, there is. There's another one up here. So we're going to come up about the same distance there. Don't know that I'm centered on the steel here. Let's put me a center line on this thing. You know, this is, like I said, this is not as important. It may be fairly centered. Yeah, it's not bad for just eyeballing it. Alright, and like I said, it's up to you how much detail you want to put into this, how much effort, per se. Now, that's another thing like this. Where I've already cut this one, I may, and I think I'm going to, just cut this like this. And then I'll kind of come through and make some marks on the other one. That's the good thing about this is you can turn it over, see where you quite didn't come through, cut your other little pieces. Make sure I'm up here in the, no, I'm sorry. Now you should be able to just punch that through. There we go. Can you see that? Alright. So we're going to do the same thing here. So I kind of draw my straight lines first. And then I just kind of come through and punch down around a circle when you're doing these little bitty ones. And you could probably punch on through, but I like to just kind of come on the back, just kind of score across that cardboard a little bit. It's already loose. And just pop it right out. So that gives you a little bit more detail in there. And you can take, if you've got some files, for example, I've got these needle files. That one's round. There we go. That's the round one I was looking for. You know, if you really are worried about that burr, I mean, you can come in there and sand that a little bit, make it rounder. So like where it's a little bit rough there, it'll take that little bit of edge off. But if you're not worried about it, which I'm not really, I just wanted to show you that, I am not really worried about it. Alright, so smells like the hot glue gun is heated up, but I want to finish this first. Get these two before we start gluing anything together. And we may not finish this in this video. I hate to make people sit there for a long extended time, and I know this takes a lot of time to do this kind of stuff. So we'll get to a certain point and then I'll stop. It's looking good. So now we're going to come over here because this is kind of curved. Curved down to there. This is a little bit bigger. I've got a little bit more area to work with. Still going to punch through that though. Up. Should be cut through. Almost. See, backside where I didn't quite get through right there. Or here. Alright, that should be good. See, right there is still not cut quite through. I don't want to tear that because that's the tip end. Alright, now there we go. Now that's what one side is going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and cut this other one, but I will time lapse it so that you guys will line this up. That's what I like about a mechanical pencil is, I mean, you can get right in there for your detailing. See, and I'll cut on the outside edges of this one, which should make them line up exactly with that. How am I doing on time? Okay, I got plenty of time on the camera. So get on the outside edge. I would like to get this piece glued together, so we're going to make this bottom piece as soon as I get through cutting these. I may time lapse, I may not. If you can look at my mat, if any of you have gone back and watched any of my older videos, you can see that this mat used to be nice and pristine. I've spilled stuff, my kids have spilled stuff on it, but I mean, it's still a great mat. Okay, so now you can look at that. So they're really, really close. And I'm not worried about them being exact. They'll be close enough that if they'll suit me. And when you're building terrain, unless you're doing it for somebody's paying you to do it, build it to suit yourself. Don't worry about trying to make everybody happy. You're always going to have critics. There's going to be people that are going to like your stuff. There's people that are going to don't like your stuff. I build for me. For my games, I have sold some terrain that I've done, but not much. If somebody wants to buy something, I'm usually pretty amenable to selling it, but you guys know how long it takes. So, and if I make a piece look good, I'm not going to sell it cheap. I put a lot of time and effort into dropping my stuff. I put a lot of time and effort into these things. And people that want you to give them stuff for free, Now, charge what you think it's worth if you're selling it to somebody. You know, the good thing about these videos is I can keep track of hours if I'm, you know, how much time I've put into these. If somebody really wants to buy it, I can tell them, so, well, I've got this much time in it. Alright, my glue back here, no. Alright, that should be good now. There we go. Alright. Clean that piece up just a little bit right there. Alright. So there's my two sides. And they will go like this. So we're going to glue this top piece here in just a minute. I need to make the end. That would have probably been a smart thing to do. Would have been put a gap in there since I'm doing that, but oh well. It will be fine. What I'll do is I'll put this piece on there, and I'll put that end piece, and then glue that other piece. Glue the two end pieces. So I'm going to need end pieces for these. Let's do that real quick. Let's see, we can probably get them. Ow, that's hot. Watch for glue placement, and don't stick it in the hair on your arms like I just did. That was hot. Yeah, James Floyd Kelly burns his fingers all the time because he's using hot glue to glue tiny pieces. I feel your pain, buddy. I feel your pain. Alright, so we need end pieces for these on each end that match this height and this width. So we're going to go this direction. We're going to do it. I always like to do from a end point, from an already cut straight edge. It's one less cut I have to make. The thing about it is I need to subtract the width of these from the height. So I'll mark my height and then I'll subtract it. So when I'm marking, I always try to line them up, get them straight. I'll come in here and mark. That's my height right there. And then if I stack these two pieces together, that is going to get me what I need to subtract from my height. Then I can measure that. You don't have to be as exact as I am. I know there's a lot of people that eyeball it looks like about 7 millimeters. So I'm going to come down 7 millimeters here. And I'm going to draw a line. They'll be close. They may not be exact. And then I can measure these. Measure this because I want it to be the same length as this. Actually, I can just do this. So I've got my width this way. Oh. Alright, sorry about that, guys. My battery ran out. Where were we? Oh, we were talking about I need to get this. This is the right height, but now I need to get it at the right width, which is this one. So it needs to be exactly this width. So actually, we're just going to do this. Put that on there. So then I need two exactly like that. So what I'm going to do is measure that again. What did I say that was? 7? Yeah, 7 millimeters. So come down another 7 millimeters. Same thing over here. 7 millimeters. actually just gonna go on and cut that. I say that and then I cut sideways. So we're just gonna do this. That's why sometimes I like to mark. Make sure you're holding your ruler good. It's gonna be close enough. Alright, so I'm gonna set this out of the way so I don't cut those pieces. Go ahead and cut this off this way. Length. Trying to make sure I don't get my head in the way, but I can't. I need to make sure I see where my line is. Like I keep saying, I am measuring fairly accurately, but you don't have to. Alright, so there's those pieces for that. So we can glue this top piece on there if we want, but before I do that, I want to measure this bottom piece that I want to put in here. So it's going to be the same width as these and the same height as this piece. So let's get another piece of cardstock, and this is why I keep my smaller pieces. So it's going to be the same width as this, which I should be good this way. So that'll probably work. So we're going to mark that. It's not square on that side. So just so I don't get confused, instead of marking X's, I'm going to erase that. So let's square on that side. So mark that there. Come down here. Mark it here. Need to keep forgetting I need to get up here in the middle. Apologize, guys. And gals, if there's any gals watching. I say guys is just a general term. It's just hard to break the habit. Okay. That's the width. And the height. I'm actually going to cut this one as a box. One piece to glue in. So, I want the height to be the same as this one here. So we're going to mark that one. I'll show you how I do scoring. Mark that there. Oh, that's wrong. If that's the width, oh, that's right, width, that'll be the height. Now the depth is going to be this. Mark it a little bit on the inside, and then again, mark the height. So I'm just using my actual piece as a measuring tool, rather, I'll go ahead and cut this so I can mark that other side, rather than try to take measurements, because you can get your measurements wrong. Your measurements can be off. Right, now we're going to mark this piece on this side here. So we're going to mark this. And it may not be perfect, but it'll be close enough. And the last one will be right here. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this. This will be the length of the whole piece. Get that out of the way. Keep my pieces together there. Now I'm going to score this one, which means I'm just going to take a white pass across there just enough to score it where it can bend. And then scoring, then I should be able to just bend it like that. Now see, that's the bad part about cereal box, sometimes it tears. But once it's glued in place, you won't be able to see that. So that will be this piece on the bottom. And we'll do that last. We're going to go ahead and glue these other two pieces up here. Now, because I know the hot glue is heated up. So I'm going to take this, stick that in there, take one of these pieces, stick it in there, hold it in place, because I just want to put a dab in the center to hold that. You can smear that a little bit if you want. Moved it. Blow on the hot glue till it gets a little dry. And don't worry about the strings, they'll come off later. This box, I'm not worried about the inside for sure, because this box is going to be. There we go. Alright, so there's that piece held. Alright, so now we're going to put the end piece in there, one of the end pieces. And we'll dab that. So we can do it this way. This way you can keep that end piece square where you want it. Sorry about getting out of the screen there. Put a little bit of glue there. A little bit down there. And then push this down in there where it needs to be while the glue is still hot. And I may not need to put any tacky glue in there, because that looks like it's holding pretty good. So I can come in there and make sure it's all the way flat. All the way up. So you can kind of see there where we're making the box. Getting the box made. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this other back piece on there. That's going to be a little more difficult because I can't get, I could probably do it that way. I'll put some glue in there and then line it up best I can. Let's do this. Let's just put it on here. Stick it in here. I'm going to have to do it this way. Get it. Okay. That is warm. That's for sure. Stick it right up against this edge. Get it in there where I need it to be without gluing my fingers to it. That is always the challenge, isn't it? And working with tiny stuff sometimes can get frustrating. And you pull your glue back off. I can get that to hold right there. I'll put another little dab right there. I keep getting off screen. I'm sorry, guys. Put another little dab on there. I may actually, instead of doing a straight down view, I may put the camera over here. Then I'm less likely to get out. So there's part of your box. See, I'm off a little bit back here, but that's okay. I can adjust that. It's a wonder if hot glue, I can stick that in there and heat that back up, and then move it. Here, strengthen that. we got to put the bottom to the box on before we put the side on. That should be fairly straightforward. Get that out of the way for now. At the bottom, just goes right there. So I'm actually going to just put some glue on the edge here. Edge here. Keep getting out of camera. Run a bead along here to run it up into. Alright, so then we've got this. We're going to kind of stick it in that. Roll it up there. Take my blade, level that up a little bit. There we go. There's the box. This bottom one will be a whole lot easier since it's just basically gluing that in. Alright. But I may go on and glue one side on here. Here where you can see, and keep pulling it back because I'm used to working like real close up. So we're going to put that piece on there. Hold it there a second, make sure I'm square. It's fairly square. And level. Okay. So there is that piece on there. I'm going to squirt a little extra in there just for strength. This is where the pole is going to come up through it, and I will do some other bracing, probably on the back side. Looks like there may be some on the back side, so I may come in here and put a little bit of bracing right there. But for right now, this is what it is right here. Alright, so now we're going to glue this piece on, and then we're going to call it done for the day. So that will get on there like that. And then we'll have that. Yeah, I'll have to definitely put a piece across the top or something along the back to hold that. Give some more bracing. Looks like there might be a brace right there in between, which I can go in and add that easily enough. Alright, so let's do this. Let's put some hot glue around the top of this piece. You don't have to get a whole lot. I mean, you can always, wonder if hot glue, you can always take your knife and trim it off if you have excess sticking over. Alright. So now, we're going to glue this piece on. And I actually may use the block to make sure I get this square to the top here, once I get it stuck on. Was I not fast enough, or did I not get enough glue? Might not have been fast enough. It's a little cool in here. Let's do this. Let's put some glue on this. Alright, so now then, get in there with our glue. Square this bad boy up. Glue's setting fast in here. So, there's where it looks off. Okay. So I'm going to have to trim some of that out. Right there. Be very careful when you're doing that. But you can trim that out right there. Alright, so there's that part. That feels pretty sturdy. So now we're going to glue this other part here. And that will get us to this point. So I'm actually going to put, I think I'm actually going to put the glue on this side. Seemed to work better. Okay, so then we're going to stick that on there. Get it squared up. Looks good. Alright. Alright, folks. that looks like a good stopping point for this video. I know I went a little long, but like I said with this, I've got this. We'll finish up this the next time. I've got this, the glue's dried on this here now. So, actually we'll go ahead and glue that piece real quick. Glue these pieces in real quick. We're going to move the hot glue gun away. I've got those two pieces, which are right here. So I need to cut this one real quick to match. Just gotta line this up, because this other one's balsa. The basswood's the piece that I used for the template. And we'll just cut this real easy down through here. Thing about cutting balsa like this, you need to go slow. Alright, so there's my two pieces there. I'll glue them in real quick. And then this piece will be done, so we can go ahead and start with the legs and everything else. So let's put some glue on these. I like using tacky glue on wood. It tends to hold better, in my opinion, than the hot glue. That's just me. Use what you have and use what you prefer. Don't let me tell you what to do, that's for sure. Getting quite a bit of glue there. Alright, so I don't need that little piece anymore. So, alright. We're going to put this down in here. And you can always wipe off the excess glue. I'm not worried about the underneath. And I think what I might do, yeah, I'll clamp that in a second. We'll go ahead and stick this one down in there. Yes, I'm getting a little bit of glue. Not much over here on this side. Probably where I had glue before. But, okay. Now we'll take our clamps. Clamp. Nice. Let's see if we can get these now. We're going to have to use these. Okay. Get our clamps over here and just clamp down, just to kind of hold it in place. So that it doesn't move on you. Alright, so there's that piece, and you see I flattened it out when I did that, so I see I got a little bit extra there, and that will trim off easy as well. So I'm just do this number, because that didn't quite set up right there. And boom. Done. I mean, you could always, I've done that before, had little glue drippings, and painted them up to look like spider webs or something. Alright, so there's that. So there's that done. We've got this far on the crane, which I think is going to look awesome once it gets painted up and finished. So, alright guys, we're going to stop right there for this. This will be the end of part 2. And the next time we get together, we'll try to finish up the crane and finish up the base part. And we'll take that circle piece, if I knew where I had it. Here. This will be the, we'll figure out which side we want to put the plate, the metal plate that this will mount to, because this will mount on here like that. Alright, guys, thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you like the video, subscribe if you want, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon, speaking of which, the little bell icon, so you'll get notified when the next one gets uploaded. Alright guys, take care.